Hello, and welcome to this webinar for Native American Fatherhood and Families Association. I am your host, Dr. Joel Touche. I have the privilege of serving as the clinical director for the NAFA Wellness Program. And today, our webinar is going to be about raising resilient kids. Our children are important to us. We know that. We know that fatherhood and motherhood is sacred. And part of being a father and a mother is trying to raise children. And so our webinar today will hopefully focus and give you ideas on how to raise confident children, how to help them with coping skills, and how to help them with their general emotional well-being. Hoping we'll go, 40 or 45 minutes today. Lots of good information. I'll give you some resources at the end, some practical tools to be able to raise your children successfully in this world. So without further ado, let's get into it. So stress stress affects our children. We live in a stressful society. Many have argued that stress is increasing over time instead of decreasing over time. That as we have further generations, there's more and more stress, and that's affecting uh, our children. So first, we have to understand that children experience stress differently than adults. Adults have some context to understand stress. They recognize that stress, in many ways, is a part of life. If you go to work, there's stress at work. Even on the best days, there's stress at work. There's stress at home. You have to pay rent or you have to pay a mortgage. You have to go to the store and buy food. You have to go deposit a paycheck. There's a normal amount of stress in an adult life, but kids don't understand that. Okay, kids don't have that context to understand stress, and so they don't react like an adult would to stress. And so, as parents, we need to recognize that and be prepared to help our children manage differently than adults would. Ooh, hang on, sorry, I'm having. There we go. So common sources of stress for kiddos: school, friendships, family changes, social media, world events. Okay, most of these probably aren't a surprise to you, but recognize that these can be significant sources of stress for our children. School uh, inherently has some competition to it. If you have a child that wants to do their best, or they want to impress you or impress their teacher, they may have a strong drive to try to excel in school. And so trying to meet that mark might be very difficult for them and might produce a lot of stress for them. Friendships. Okay, we were all young once. Friends can be difficult. Sometimes other children are mean. Even friends are mean, and that can create stress. A lot of kids feel like they need to have the certain amount of friends, and so they may be distressed because they don't have enough friends, or maybe they're upset because they have too few friends. So friendships can cause some stress. Family changes. Now, change is normal in a family, but frequent moves, a lot of upheaval in the house can take its toll on our children. Social media. 20 years ago, social media was just barely a thing, but now it's everywhere. Every child seems to have a social media account. They have their own phone or their own tablet, and they're constantly um, being fed social media content. And much of that is not healthy for them. It's showing them a lot of unrealistic examples of life that can cause them some headaches. It gives them a um, um, a difference between where they think they need to be and where they are, and that discrepancy can give them a lot of stress. And then lastly, world events. We think our kids maybe don't know what's going on in the world, especially if they're younger, but they often do. They may not understand all of it, but they know that there's something going on and they know that there's something bad. They understand financial struggles. They understand war. They understand terror attacks. They know a lot of those things, even if they don't know a lot about them. They know that the words are bad, and if they see it on the news or they hear family or friends talking about it, they can become stressed by it. Um, so stress is normal. Our goal is not to have kids that never experience stress because that's not realistic at all, in fact. Our goal is to help them manage the stress appropriately, to make them resilient to the stress. And so support is what makes the difference. When kids feel supported, they can manage the stress effectively. And that's a whole bunch of what this webinar is going to focus on for you. So again, not to eliminate stress, but to build resilience to it. Okay, so what is emotional resilience? It's the word we use a lot in this society, but what is it actually? So resilience is a skill that can be developed. We don't come standard with resilience. We have to learn it. And so we have to recognize that our kids don't know it. They don't know how to be resilient when they're born. They have to learn it, and we then, as their parents or caregivers, need to teach them. So some of the characteristics of resilient children, okay, they can adapt. Okay, if their situation changes, they can adjust to handle that situation. They have emotional awareness. They may be aware themselves of what they're feeling. They will also be aware of what other people are feeling. They will recognize or be able to recognize that, Billy over there is feeling something, or Jane is sad. They'll be very emotionally aware. Um, they are good at problem solving. So they will be able to conquer obstacles that come their way, as opposed to someone that goes to pieces when there's a problem and they don't know how to solve it. Emotional resilient children can solve problems. They also will show confidence because they know that they can manage the situation, even if something is unknown to them. They don't know how to do it, or they've never been in a situation like that before. They will have confidence in their ability to manage it. And then they'll have healthy relationships. Okay. They will surround themselves with people that are supportive of them and that are good for them, that create positive experiences for them, encourage them to make good choices, and exhibit good behaviors. So first, if we're managing children, we need to understand big emotions. And that's kind of the pop psych word nowadays that, oh, so-and-so is having big emotions. And well, it's a little bit of a euphemism. It's also accurate. Little kids have really big emotions. I think as adults, sometimes we think little kids must not have big emotions. They must only have little emotions because they're little kids. But that's not the case. For a little kid, you might ask them to do something very unreasonable, like eat their dinner. I'm joking there. Um, in their minds, though, it is the most unreasonable thing you could possibly ask. This is the biggest issue that they've encountered yet that day, and their world is falling apart because you wanted them to eat their dinner. Now, as an adult, just eat your dinner. It's good for you, otherwise you're going to be hungry in 2 hours and you're going to be fussy. Doesn't work that way for little kids. It's a big emotion, okay? And they don't know how to manage it. And so our first thing as adults is not to minimize their emotions. Don't assume because they're little kids that they don't have big emotions. And then we have to recognize that those emotions are valid. Okay, all emotions are valid. Okay, we can't control what we think or what pops into our mind, that instant thought or that feeling as a result. The emotions are valid. And sometimes as adults, we will invalidate a child's emotions. A kid will say, I'm upset or I'm sad, And we'll say, well, no, you're not. You're just saying that. That's invalidating to them. They're having a big emotion, even if they're labeling it incorrectly. They're trying to express that they're having a really big emotion. And so we should honor it. We should validate it. And there are various ways that we can do that. And we'll talk about some of those. Children's brains are still developing emotional regulation. Remember, they don't come standard with regulation, with resilience already. So their brains are still developing. We need to give the kiddo a little bit of slack to do that. Remember that if you as an adult are having trouble sometimes managing your emotions, you're an adult. How much harder then is it for a little kid that doesn't have your life experience or doesn't have your level of maturity? We need to give them some slack. We need to help them develop emotion regulation rather than criticizing them for not having it. So stress can affect behavior, learning, and relationships. Stress is actually really huge. There have been some studies about the impact of stress, particularly on children, of how much it affects them. So having those big emotions and not knowing how to manage them can actually really, really impact our children. Yes, it makes them difficult to deal with, but there are lifelong impacts if they don't learn how to effectively manage stress. So this is actually a really big issue that we as parents need to help with. And recognize that behavior is often communication. As adults, most of us can use our words and we can say, hey, that hurt me, or I'm feeling really alone right now. Little kids often can't do that. They don't have the emotional vocabulary to do it, or they're not able to really understand what they're feeling to be able to say that. And so their communication comes out as behavior. Real little kids, like, pre-toddler or toddlers, they bite. They bite all the time. They bite lots of stuff because they don't know how to use the words. They don't know how to get your attention. But if they bite you, you will pay attention to them. Granted, you're going to yell at them or give them some kind of a consequence, but they got your attention. That behavior was communication. So when your child is having some kind of an overwhelming emotion or they're acting out because of it, try to look at it in context. Look at what they may be trying to communicate. Look at what's going on for them and how that behavior might be the outpouring of that emotion. It looks different than it does for adults. So sometimes it's hard for us to recognize it. And we struggle with that as adults. So recognizing the signs of stress. As a parent, what are you looking for in your child so that you can recognize if they're feeling stressed? We've got several. So there's some emotional signs. For example, crying. Now, recognize just because they're crying doesn't mean there's something horribly wrong. We're looking for extra crying. The kiddo that generally doesn't cry much, but is now crying more, that's a sign. Something else is going on for that child, and we want to try to find out what. Okay, we might also have physical signs. The big one, hands down, tummy aches. Okay, right behind that would be muscle tension, sore muscles. All the time, kids will say, my tummy hurts. As an adult, recognize, when is that happening? Okay, for a lot of kids, it happens right before school. They're going out the door to school and the kiddo has a tummy ache. Well, the kiddo doesn't act like they're not sick. It's not a sick tummy ache, but it's stress. They're worried about something and their tummy is in knots about it. Now, they don't know how to say, I'm feeling stressed right now about school, but they know their tummy hurts. They don't connect it. And so as a parent, that's one of the signs that you're looking for. Nail biting or picking can be another one. Kids that are stressed will frequently bite their nails or pick the skin around their nails and things like that. It's kind of a nervous habit, but one that they're doing to as an outpouring of the stress. Their stress is coming out sideways because they don't know what to do with it. Okay? You may also have behavior changes. So fighting or arguing. Um, uh, uh, so kids that start fights over comparatively small things, okay, that might be a sign that they're stressed about something. Extra arguing. Again, little kids argue, particularly as you get a little older into the tween and teen years. But someone that isn't usually argumentative is now being argumentative and challenging. That may be a sign of some stress. Right? But again, you were looking for things that are out of the ordinary. So pay attention if it's something different. If your kid's baseline is very tearful, that's potentially something different going on. But the kid that's not usually tearful, that's suddenly tearful, the kid that never has a tummy ache is now having a tummy ache every time they're trying to go to school. Those are the things that you're watching for. Kid that never starts fights, that is now getting into fights, though that's what you want to watch for. So you're looking for something that's different, something out of the ordinary for that child. Side note, pro tip, this is what puts parents in the prime position to help these kids because you know what their baseline is. You know them better than anyone else. And so is this out of the ordinary for this child or is this kind of normal for them? So the adult's role, what do you do? What can you do or what should you do when you're in the moment with your child to help them? It's going to be a great concrete list. If you're taking notes, this is where you probably want to start taking them. So first, recognize that children borrow calm from trusted adults. They're going to feed off of your energy. If you're freaking out about something, they are going to freak out about it. But the opposite is also true. If you're calm about something, they're going to be calm about it. Okay? Think about little kids, like a toddler. They fall down, they bump something, they bump their head. They usually don't cry first. They usually go look. They're looking to mom or dad. They're looking for your reaction. And if you say, "Oh my gosh, are you okay? Are you okay?" Then the kid says, "Oh, there's something to be scared of." And they start crying. They fed off of your energy. But if you're calm about it and you say, "Oh, you fell down and bumped your head," okay, there's nothing to be worried or upset about. And they are more likely to be calm about it, even if it hurt and even if they cry a little bit. They don't panic about it. They're not freaking out about it because you are calm. They're borrowing your calm. The psychological principle would be an emotional contagion, that if you're upset about something, they'll be upset about something. Or if you're in a room full of babies or toddlers, if one of them cries, the others cry too. Okay, that emotion can spread from person to person. So your role as an adult is super important there. Okay, co-regulation before self-regulation. They are going to learn how to regulate themselves with you before they learn to regulate on their own. So having you there to help them regulate is the first step in them learning to do it themselves. So co-regulation first. You are there to help them regulate. Okay, and then connection over correction. Hey, you as the adult, when they're having, a big emotion, you're there to connect with them, to help them recognize that it's okay, to help them use a strategy to calm themselves down. You're there for that connection as opposed to yelling at them, even though if it's something that maybe it would be normal to yell about. Okay, even if, well, I've told you 100 times not to stand up under the table because you're going to hit your head. Now look at what you did. Okay, that might be true. You might have told them 100 times not to stand up under the table. And we've all probably seen toddlers that have done that. And they can do it, and then one day they grow a little bit, they can't do it anymore, and they hit their head. Okay, but they don't need your correction right then. They need connection. They need connection to you to help them learn to regulate so that they can get through those times where they do hurt themselves. Okay. Afterwards, later is the time to, hey, remember, you can't stand up under the table. That's the learning opportunity comes later. First, we do connection. Okay. And then model healthy coping skills. When you get stressed out, use a coping skill. Yeah, we'll talk about some in a little bit, but that might be you doing some deep breathing or you taking a time out. Okay. You model the behavior and they learn. Okay. Kids love to be just like mom or just like dad or whoever the adult caregiver is in their lives. They will do the same thing. Okay. Just like kids learn, how to speak. Okay. Most of us have probably had a kid that repeated something that we said and we kind of winced a little bit that, oh, that did come out of my mouth. Maybe I shouldn't have used that word, or maybe I shouldn't have said that about the neighbor. Okay. This is the same thing. They will watch you as you manage difficult things and they will learn from it. So you have to model healthy coping skills. Okay. So strategy one, here's where we're kind of getting into the meat of what we need to do. So first, help the children name their feelings. And this one's super important. Remember, kids don't have the emotional vocabulary to say what they're feeling, and so it comes out behaviorally. We have to help them recognize what they're feeling so they can put a label to it. They know, I'm feeling scared right now, or I'm feeling worried, I'm feeling anxious, or on the positive side too, I'm feeling happy, or I'm feeling excited. Okay. We need to help them learn those words. And they don't know them intuitively. They have to be taught them. And there's lots of adults that don't know this. If you are one of them, learn yourself. Learn different emotional words and what they mean. Learn how to differentiate some of them so that you can communicate that to the children that are in your care. Okay, so build emotional vocabulary. Learn some of those words and then help your child learn them. Okay, so they can put a label on it. And there's some ways to do that. I'll give you some resources toward the end. But teach them some of the words and maybe ask them or maybe label it. It looks like you're feeling upset. Are you feeling worried? Or you look like you're really happy. Are you feeling excited? Or you look like you're sad. Are you feeling sad? You labeling a little bit helps them to say, oh, when I'm feeling like that, that's sad. Okay, and that helps them develop some emotional vocabulary. Okay, validate emotions without judgment. Okay, we talked a little bit about validation before. Sometimes as adults, we avoid validating because we're afraid that that means we agree with what they're feeling or what they're doing. And that is 100% not the case. Validation is just validating that that person is feeling a feeling, and I can see that and I can imagine how hard it is for them. It has no judgment about the situation or the emotion itself. It's just validating that you're feeling it and I can tell that you're feeling it. Okay. For example, validation might look like I can see how hard it is for you to clean your room right now. Okay. If they're, overwhelmed, crying on the ground, it is very hard for them to clean their room. Okay. As an adult, you're thinking, well, just clean your stinking room. Okay. But remember, overwhelming emotion for a little kid, this is the most overwhelming thing they can possibly imagine right now. They don't know what to do. And so they're on the floor crying. Okay. I can see how hard it is for you to clean your room. Or, you can customize it to the situation. I can see how hard it is to have to eat your dinner when you would rather get down and watch a movie, or you would rather go outside and play. Okay, you're validating that it's hard for them. I can see how hard it is for you. It has nothing to do with whether you agree with it. Okay, it is just validating the feeling. That helps the child feel recognized. Pro tip, it also works reasonably well on spouses. Okay, when your spouse is feeling the big feels, and you can say, it looks like you're really struggling right now. Okay, that's recognizing it. Okay, it says, I see you. And that is often very helpful for the other person because they feel seen rather than ignored. Okay? So validate the emotion, just the emotion. We're just validating the emotion, nothing to do with the situation, no judgment. Okay. Use everyday opportunities for emotional check-ins. Take time during the day to ask how your kid is doing. Okay. Pick them up from school and ask them, how was your day? As they learn emotional vocabulary, they're going to engage more with that question and they're actually going to tell you. I've been in other groups where they always teach kiddos to identify three different things that they're feeling. When someone says, how are you feeling? And they say, well, I'm happy, excited, and nervous. Okay. Those are all three things I could feel at the same time. And then that breeds a conversation. I'm happy because I get to go, here, and I'm excited because I know it's going to be a new opportunity, but I'm also a little bit nervous because I've never been there before and I don't know what it's like. You've now got great emotional interaction with you and your child. So teaching them the vocabulary helps. It helps in this case where you can do emotional check-ins. It lets them practice using their emotional vocabulary, checking in with themselves. Well, what do I actually feel? Okay? Sometimes it's helpful if you've got a kid that maybe isn't super on board to set some ground rules. For example, okay, fine, and good are not appropriate answers. You got to use other emotional vocabulary words, actual words. A lot of times, people, even adults, do this. They just say, I'm good, because it gets the other person to leave them alone when that's not really how they're doing. So teach them the actual words and then encourage them to use them. Use everyday opportunities to check in with them. Okay? And then encourage those open conversations. As they build connection with you, they will more readily open up to you. They will tell you what's going on for them that's resulting in this big feeling that they're having. Okay. So strategy two, teach healthy coping skills. So once we've named the emotion, we know what it is. Now, what do we do with it? It's overwhelming and it's creating difficulties. What do we do with it? Okay. So we teach them some skills. The first one, deep breathing. Deep breathing is an easy one. Take some deep breaths. Hey, this is a great opportunity to do breathing. Somebody, I know it was on a commercial years ago. I'm sure somebody wise said it. But they said, when you breathe, you inspire. When you don't breathe, you expire, which is true. Inspiration is the physical act of air going in, and expiration is dead. When you don't breathe, you're dead. Um, but in this case, we get air to our brains and we start thinking better. Our brain gets out of panic mode. We stop being so nervous, anxious, and upset because, oh yeah, I'm getting air to my brain. My brain is working right. I'm calming down. My body isn't in the fight or flight mode that it used to be. So deep breathing is super useful. Some specific techniques that you can use is square or box breathing. It's also called rectangular breathing. You can Google it. There's little worksheets to help. It's not difficult. I'll tell you real quick. But a square has four sides that are all the same length. A rectangle has two sides that are the same, and the other two sides are the same, but two of them are longer. So the idea is to regulate your breathing that way. So if it's a square, maybe start out with 4 seconds. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds. You breathe out for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds. And then you do that cycle, okay, 4 seconds. There's, masters of box breathing that do like 30 seconds a side or some really insane number. But there's significant benefits. It hyperoxygenates our body, which is usually a good thing, and it helps our bodies manage the anxiety. Because when we breathe out, our body says, I want to breathe in again. I want to breathe in again. But we're holding it for 4 seconds. So we're teaching our bodies, hang on, you're going to get your oxygen. I'm waiting 4 seconds. Okay. So it helps our bodies learn to regulate. It's bringing our mind to control our bodies instead of the other way around. Um, and then as you gain skill or your child gains skill, you can extend it. So maybe you're doing 4 seconds, maybe then you're going to up to 6 seconds. So if you breathe in for 6 seconds, that's a rather slow breath. It's not a quick inhale. It's a very slow, controlled breath. And then you hold it. Then if you're going to breathe out for 6 seconds, that's a very controlled out breath. It's not a, oh, it's a very slow breath. And so it starts to help your body regulate. So deep breathing is super, super useful. Okay, movement and exercise. In general, our kids today do not get enough exercise. We spend too much time in front of screens and tablets and things like that. We do not get enough exercise. That needs to change. Okay, as we help our kids move and exercise more, they get healthier. It also helps them get tension out. It gives their brains a chance to relax and kind of process things from the day. Get them moving, get them outside to play. Okay. And there's lots of ways to do that. It doesn't actually have to be outside, but get them moving. Okay. Teach them to move, teach them to exercise, and they will enjoy it. That is a lifelong skill that they can use to help regulate themselves. And as they get good at that, that can be a regular way for them to release stress and tension, even as adults. Go on a run, go play basketball, do Pilates. It doesn't matter, but get them moving and exercising as a way to reduce some stress for them. Okay, then creative expression. Help them draw, help them color, help them build. Okay, building with Duplos. I don't even know if they even have Duplo blocks anymore. 50 years ago, Duplos were all the thing. Um, get them building. This is also an opportunity for you to engage with your child. Play with them, draw, paint, color, um, build towers, build a creation. Doesn't matter, but get them being creative. This engages a different part of the brain and it helps them not focus on whatever's stressing them out. It can also be an outlet for the stress. Building a big tower and then knocking it down, or drawing a picture of the frustration. Or if they're, little kids, you can even name it something. Let's draw the frustration monster. Okay, and they can get their frustration out. Colors. Maybe if they're angry, they're coloring with red or drawing with red or painting with red. If they're happy, maybe they're painting, drawing, coloring with yellow. It doesn't matter. It's kind of up to you and your kiddo. But there's ways to use creative expression to help manage some of those emotions rather than keeping them bottled up inside. Okay, our next one is mindfulness. Okay, mindfulness is not just sitting there and thinking of nothing. A lot of people avoid it because that's what they think it is. It is 100% not that. Mindfulness is actually paying extra attention to what you want to spend attention on. In most cases, it's your senses. You have five senses, and so you're paying attention to what's going on in your senses. So what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you feel. Okay, so pay attention, and that's a good skill that they can do anywhere. Okay, if I'm sitting somewhere, even though it's quiet, maybe there's the air conditioner going, or the fan spinning on the ceiling, or I can hear the neighbor next door. Okay, if I'm sitting somewhere, I can feel the chair on the back of my legs or the armrest on my arms, or I can lay down, I can feel the pillow on the back of my head and my neck. Okay, these are all senses. I can sit outside and I can smell the pollen if things are blooming. If I'm eating, I can feel the food in my mouth. If it's crunchy, I can hear it crunch. I can feel it on my teeth. If it's melty, I can feel it melt over my tongue and my mouth. I'm paying attention to those sensations, and that keeps me grounded in the present because the senses are instantaneous. It's what I'm feeling right now. It's not something in the future that I'm worried about or something in the past that I'm worried about. It's right now. Okay. So mindfulness, help them sit and be still for a moment. It's another thing we don't do super well in our society anymore. We aren't still very often. So help them to be still and focus on their senses. Okay. And there's options. If you go online, There's guided meditations and things like that that can be useful. There's, YouTube videos of that. There's podcasts, audio recordings to guide you through some of those, but those aren't necessary. Just picking a sense and feeling what it is, what's going on, what you hear, see, taste, smell, etc. Okay, so be mindful, and then teach them problem solving versus avoidance. Too often, when something is unpleasant, we want to avoid it. Okay, as an adult, think about the dentist. You ever try to avoid the dentist? Okay, most people don't like going to the dentist. My world actually changed when I talked to a dentist once that said dentists don't like going to the dentist. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. That changed my perspective a little bit. What is your kiddo avoiding? Are they avoiding going to school? Are they avoiding cleaning their room? Are they avoiding homework? Okay, teach them problem solving. Let's solve a problem. What's the problem? Let's figure out options and let's pick one. So also works good for you. This is something else that you can model. What are you avoiding? Are you avoiding the dishes in the sink? Are you avoiding paying the bills? Are you avoiding mowing the lawn? Come up with a solution. Identify the problems and solve them. Okay? This is a skill that can help your children through the rest of their lives. But when they have to learn, if they don't, then they become adults that avoid things. And short term, maybe that works out for them, but long term, it doesn't. It creates more problems for them. Okay, strategy 3, daily resilience habits. Okay, so what can we do? Consistent routines. Children in general thrive on routine. That means they don't thrive in chaos. Okay, days that are not consistent are hard for kids. Very, very hard for kids. Think of school. School is about the most consistent routine you can get. The bell rings every day at a certain time. The recess bell rings every day at a certain time. The lunch bell rings every day at a certain time. Lunch ends every day at a certain time. The go home bell rings every day at a certain time. Okay, many teachers have consistency through the day. We do social studies during this time, and then we do PE during this time, and then we do science during this time. Lots and lots of consistent structure for them. Okay, our homes need to have consistent structure as well. Having a consistent bedtime leads to a consistent wake up time. Knowing, hey, first thing we, go get in the shower, we get dressed, and then we come down for breakfast, and we leave for school. Then we come home from school, we eat a snack, and then we do homework, and then we go play, and then we help with dinner, whatever. It doesn't matter what the routine is, but have a routine. Okay, it will help your child's stress go down because they know what to expect. It's hard for a child to be low stress when they don't know what's coming. Okay. And some households, through no fault of anybody's, are higher stress. There isn't always consistency, but that's something we need to work toward. See what things we can reduce, what problems can we solve in order to have more consistency. For those of you that may be kinship placements or foster care providers for kids, many of these kids have come out of homes where there wasn't good structure, there wasn't any consistency. And so they struggle. That's what they're used to. They're used to everything just kind of going sideways. And it's hard for them. They have to learn how to settle themselves down so that they can thrive in a consistent household. So figure out a routine, figure it out as a family. What's your routine going to be? Get everybody's buy-in so that everyone can work on it. And routines can be adjusted. If we decide something doesn't work, or maybe it used to work and it doesn't now, it can be changed, but have a routine. Okay, sleep, nutrition, and physical activity are the things you want to prioritize. Make sure they're getting to bed on time. Make sure they're waking up on time. Make sure they're eating meals. Encourage healthy eating. Again, kids prefer, kids like things that aren't healthy. They have things that are sugary and fried and overly sweet. No, very few kids say, "Hey, mom, can I have some broccoli?" But They need things that are good for them. They need fruits and vegetables, healthy snacks and things like that. Talk to your pediatrician or a nutritionist or something if you need some specific food guidance. But part of your routine should be eating a healthy diet. And then physical activity. We talked about that a slide or two ago. Be physical, get outside, play, move. It doesn't matter what it is, but help them to be physical. Okay. Look for opportunities for independence. Okay. Kids start out being completely dependent on their caregivers. Okay. When you're a newborn, you cannot do anything on your own. You're completely reliant on your caregivers. But as they get older, children become more and more independent up until they become adults. Okay. And then in reality, they still need their parent, but they're not required to get your input. We don't want to build 17-year-olds that need their parent for every single thing in life. So we want to help them gradually become more independent. So look for those opportunities for them to do something. Encourage them to do something themselves and then come back and tell you about it. That's how they learn to be independent, how they learn to take on new ideas and new challenges. Okay. And then encourage perseverance. Okay. Help them see that maybe they're not going to succeed the first time, and that is okay. Help them continue to figure it out. Some people call it productive struggle. Okay, the opposite would be unproductive struggle, struggle that doesn't get us anything. We want productive struggle, where someone's trying to figure it out, they're going back and forth, they're trying to figure it out, and then eventually they do. Okay, that struggle, trying to figure it out, trying to make it work, was really hard, but it was productive because it gets them to it. So help them find those opportunities, encourage perseverance so that they can learn to manage stuff. Okay, so helping children through difficult moments. Okay, you need to stay calm and present. Okay, be with them, share the space with them. Listen before solving. Okay, listen to what they have to say. If they're trying to tell you why they're upset, don't try to solve the problem. Listen to them. Even if you think it would be easy to solve. Hint, most of the time it is easy to solve. But remember, for that kid, this is an overwhelming, huge emotion. This is the worst thing they can possibly think of. Even though you're like, well, just put on the socks. Who cares if the socks are scratchy? Just put them on. This is a huge deal for the kid. So listen to them. Help them to feel heard. Okay. Yes, this takes a little bit longer. Okay. It means you can't get out the door quite as fast because they won't put on the scratchy socks. But isn't being a little bit late to where you're going worth having that connection with your child? I would say yes. Okay? Maybe you need to budget a little extra time to get out the door to allow for a meltdown and some listening time. But listen before trying to solve. As adults, we want to solve it because it's easy for us. It's not easy for that kid. And remember, we're trying to build resilience, trying to help them learn how to solve their problems and manage life. So listen before trying to solve. Validate their feelings. Again, validation has nothing to do with agreement. Validate. I see you. I can see how hard this is for you. Okay? It looks like you're trying really hard. Okay? Validate the feelings. And then guide problem solving together. Okay. Work on it together. Help them generate ideas. You're modeling the behavior, guiding them through it to come to a resolution. Okay. They don't have the perspective, you do. So guide them, help them. And then reflect after the emotions settle. Okay. Once things have kind of calmed down, talk about it. Okay. Reflect on it a little bit. That's where the real growth comes from, when they realize, oh, it was easier if I did it. Or it did feel good to be able to say what I was feeling. Okay. Reflect a little bit. That's the moment where they start to develop some of that emotional intelligence, is in the reflection. Otherwise, we just had a meltdown without any benefit. Do some reflection with them, but it has to be after things have calmed down. It can't be in the middle of when things are going sideways. Okay. Building confidence and growth. Praise effort rather than perfection. Hey, this is something huge that we can do right now, starting today in our households to help our children. Too often we praise perfection rather than effort, and it's the exact opposite of what we need. Okay? We say, "Oh, you're so smart. Look how smart you are." Okay? That's praising their perfection. They jumped through a hoop and they did something. But what happens then if my smartness runs out? What happens if I get a challenge that I'm not that smart at, that I don't know how to do? Well, then mom or dad aren't going to be proud of me. They're not going to praise me because I didn't do it. I didn't know how to do it. And so kids get worried, okay? Because what if it runs out? What if they're not smart enough anymore? Or they run into something that they don't know how to do? So instead, we praise the effort, okay? When they bring you the A in school, we say, you must have worked really hard at that. Okay? Or when they bring you the picture that they drew, I can tell how hard you worked on this. Okay? We're still providing praise, but we're praising the effort rather than their inherent ability to do something. It's not, you're so smart in math. That's the perfection. It's, I can tell you spent a long time figuring out that math problem. That was the effort. So praise the effort rather than perfection. This is potentially huge for our kids today. And that connects directly to growth mindset. And we want to encourage a growth mindset. Growth mindset is a highly researched topic, comes out of Stanford. Carol Dweck and Joe Bowler are two researchers that focus on that. There's some great TED Talks by Carol Dweck if you're so inclined. But they've done research about school children that have their effort praised rather than their perfection. And they found that kiddos who have their effort praised look for more challenges. They look for opportunities to take on something that they've never done before and then accomplish it. Where the kids that have their perfection praised don't. They don't look for new opportunities because I don't know if I can do it. I have all this innate smartness, but I don't know if it applies there. And so they don't do it. So growth mindset is huge for our kids. We want them to be able to tackle challenges, to overcome things that they've never tried before. Growth mindset is the way to do that. So encourage a growth mindset by praising their effort. Um, Again, there's TED Talks and research articles if you're so inclined. Celebrate small successes. Okay, even though it's something small, praise it. It's a big deal for them. A kid brings you their scribble, their color scribbles on the paper. Praise it. They worked hard at it. Okay, even if it's small for you, it's a big deal for them. So celebrate small successes, even a little thing that they did. Praise it. Okay, help children learn from setbacks. Okay, when they hit a bump in the road, when something doesn't go well, help them learn from it. Okay, teach them how to do something different next time. Maybe evaluate what went wrong and help them learn from it. That keeps them on track. That helps them progress toward confidence, resilience, and things like that. Okay, so creating a resilient family culture. How do you do this in your family? We talked about a few of these already, but open communication. Okay, create an environment in your family where people are free to communicate. Okay, sometimes we send messages in our families that we don't mean to. They're unspoken rules. Sometimes we give the message that it's not okay to communicate. Okay, we do that by saying things like, not now, I'm busy. Okay, we're sending the message that whatever they have to say is less important than what I'm doing now. Okay, and if that's work or a football game or other things, that's a problem. Okay, we need to encourage open communication. Now, that doesn't mean we have to drop everything every time our kid wants to say something, but if we stop making dinner for 60 seconds to hear what our child has to say, that 60 seconds is minor in terms of dinner, but major in terms of that child. So consider stopping for just a minute or two. If you're home catching up on work, 5 minutes of reading a story to your child is life-changing for them. Does 5 minutes really make a difference in the work that you're trying to catch up on? No. So encourage open communication, encourage open access to one another so that you can talk, you can connect, you can interact. Family routines and rituals. We talked about routines already. Create those family routines, create family rituals, things that you do. Maybe it's a Sunday afternoon ritual. Maybe it's a graduating from school ritual. Maybe it's a bedtime ritual. Okay? Create those routines and rituals for your family. That will help bring resilience. Okay, emotional safety. Teach them that it's okay to have emotions. That's the validation and the communication. Teach them that it's okay to feel things. Allow them to share it and talk about it. And then they can decide if that's an emotion they want to feel or an emotion that they don't want to feel. But you want the safety that they can come talk to you about it. If they don't feel comfortable talking to you, they're going to go talk to somebody else, which might be their friends. It might be ChatGPT. It might be the neighbor. And are you really confident with what chat, your neighbor, or friends are going to teach your kid? Okay, it needs to be you. So create emotional safety within your family. And then teach conflict resolution. Normal people have disagreements. The best of us do. Okay, healthy conflict is normal. We teach them how to have healthy conflict. We don't yell, we don't call names, we don't hit, we don't throw things. That is unhealthy conflict resolution. But we do talk about it. We do talk directly to the other person. Maybe we acknowledge what role we had in it and what we can do differently. Okay? We teach them how to manage conflict in a healthy way. Again, that models for them and gives them an environment where they can practice it. And then gratitude and optimism. We want them to be in an environment where we teach gratitude and optimism. Okay, we teach them what things we're grateful for and that we can be positive about the future. Okay, that helps reduce their stress and helps them focus on all the positive things in their life, not necessarily all the bad things that are happening in the world or in the neighborhood or something like that. So teach them how to be grateful, have an attitude of gratitude, help them to see the positive things that are going on in the world, not just the negative. And that can take a little bit of work because you're not going to get that from the news. You're not going to get that from your Apple News app. Most of those things are really negative. So you have to teach them how to be optimistic. Okay. When do you need additional support? When is it, when are you not going to be enough? And this is an important question. Okay. So signs that stress may require professional help. Okay. When stress isn't getting better, when you're trying to do these things and it's been a little while and things aren't getting better, they're getting worse. Okay. That's a sign that maybe something bigger is going on and you may need to get some outside help. Okay. If the stress is so bad that it's impacting normal daily activities for an extended period of time, like school. If the kid hasn't been able to go to school for 2 weeks and you've tried, the deep breathing, you've tried, helping them talk through it, we probably need some more help if it's gone on for an extended period of time and it's impacting school. Okay. So those are big ones. Early intervention. Okay. Don't wait till it's gone on for 6 months. Okay. If it's been a few weeks and you've tried everything you can do, that's the time to go get help. Okay. If you wait 6 months, if you wait a year, it's only harder to correct. So early intervention is important. Work with your schools and work with your mental health professionals. Your schools probably have a school social worker, a school counselor, school psychologist, something like that. Schools can help students. They can help. They can help uh, create a plan for assistance to help your child be successful despite whatever they're struggling with. Hey, so schools are a great resource. You've also got community mental health providers. Every community has some. You may have to go into the next biggest town if you live in a very rural setting, but it's available. It's available in your county somewhere. Talk to someone, call and find out. Even if you're not sure, talk to someone, get some feedback, tell them what's going on, and get their opinion on whether you need to come in and talk something through. And then show your family that seeking help is a strength. That's something we want to teach our children, that it's not bad to ask for help. And I realize that sometimes that clashes with cultural expectations or with family expectations. But in this day and age, we need to help our kids. Okay, we cannot teach them that they can't ever get help because everybody needs some help at least sometimes. And that's why we're in families on this earth. We're in families to help and support one another. And we have extended families to help and support. Okay, that's why we're here. And so we need to teach them that it's okay to get help. So here's your key takeaways from this webinar. Stress is inevitable. It's going to happen. It's normal. And resilience is teachable. Okay? You can teach them how to manage that stress that is going to come their way. Emotional connection is the foundation. Okay? You have to be able to connect emotionally with your children. That sets the stage for you to be able to talk to them, for them to talk to you, for you to share ideas, for you to offer support. They have to have some kind of an emotional connection. And that's where you start. If you don't have the emotional connection yet, you have to build that. But that's got to be your foundation. Small, consistent actions make a lasting impact. Okay? Your emotional connection isn't going to occur overnight. You teach your child how to do box breathing, it's not going to make a change overnight. But small, consistent actions will make that change. So teach them box breathing and help them practice it. Work on building emotional connection over days and weeks and months as you continue to strengthen it. Those small, consistent actions make a lasting impact. Hey, parents don't have to be perfect, just present and supportive. Hey, you are not a perfect parent. Sorry if that's blowing any of your minds right now. None of us are perfect parents. So we are flawed. But the good news is we don't have to be perfect. That's not the goal. What we do need to do is be present. We have to be there with our kids and we have to support them while they're figuring things out. Okay, when kids don't get the support they need, they reach other places for support, which again, friends, chat GPT, neighbors, and that's potentially problematic. So they need support from us. So be present and be supportive. Don't be perfect because you can't. All right, resources. I mentioned a couple times of some resources. I don't make too many recommendations for products, but I'm going to point you toward two of them that I think are particularly useful for what we've been talking about. First one is Sesame Street. Now, Sesame Street's a lot of fun, but a few years ago, Sesame Street made a particular effort to build some emotional kind of wellness resources. If you go search YouTube for Sesame Street emotional well-being, you'll bring up this playlist. It has 51 videos, and they're all about emotional well-being, talking about how to name emotions and how to be sad and still be okay. All the things that we're talking about. There are some other Sesame Street resources out there as well. One of them is a song about Yet. It's called The Power of Yet, which is growth mindset. Carol Dweck actually has one of her TED Talks about that. But Sesame Street sings a song with Janelle Monáe, and all the little monsters aren't doing things right, and they're trying. I think Rosita's trying to tie her shoes, Bert's trying to sing, Big Bird's trying to shoot a basketball. They can't do it. And so they sing a song about the power of yet. I can't do it yet. Yet implies I'm going to, though. I'm going to do this. I just can't do it yet. And it's a fun song about yet. I keep trying, I keep working at it, I keep practicing, and then I can do it. So lots of resources, even outside of this emotional well-being playlist. But search for that one if you would like. The second option is a book. This is more of a tween teen resource. I also recommend it for adults. It's called Do Hard Things. Alex and Brett Harris are the authors. It's a great book. It's an easy read. I've read it. I've made all my children read it. But it's a book about doing hard things that children today generally don't do hard things. We're kind of we kind of allow kids to do mediocrity or yay, you made your bed, you're a rock star. When it's like, well, shouldn't making your bed be kind of a minimum expectation? let's let's do more. Let's try to do hard things. And the book talks about these two brothers and how they were learning how to do hard things. Very inspirational book. Um, um, it's got a religious overtone to it without being overly religious, but they do talk about their belief in God and how that helps them to do hard things and one of the reasons they want to do hard things. So great book. I think that's a top-notch resource. Again, for adults, teens, or even tweens, kind of in the 10 years old plus range, I would think would be a good resource for that. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today. I hope you enjoy it. Also, as a quick plug, check out our national conference. If you go to our website, nativeamericanfathers.org, you can find the link to register for our conference, learn how to be a better father, better mother, learn about families in a great 3-day conference. Highly recommend it. It's well attended, great opportunity. Register, tell your friends. There's currently an early bird special going on as well, so you can take advantage of that. But thank you for being here. Thank you for attending, and I hope you enjoyed it.